me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god. Let's go.
Folks, I've got one that nobody's talking about. Or some people are talking about it. And I'm sure talking about it. So I've got you a video clip of Robert Kennedy Jr. last year, our HHS director, giving a speech talking about the pandemic and Project 201, which this was a simulation of practicing, if you will, in the event of a pandemic, and how it was designed, and they practiced social order and the whole thing, including bringing a member of every single law enforcement agency in the country and give them the new deal on how to enforce social distancing, curfews, and what to do with the people that refuse to get vaccinated, etc. He goes on to draw the parallel of the tactics that they used in MK-Ultra is precisely what they're using in this project when the vax started, the pandemic started, the whole deal. I've written a pretty good article and gone into great depth about this very subject on Substack. So the description of this video is my Substack, and I encourage you to go there and read it. You'll get the whole deal. This is simply was a new element that was added to a program that was already in place, community-oriented policing, the system that is still in place. If you want to completely understand what the deep state is, you can't get a clear explanation that you're going to get right here, okay? With this video clip, and just stick the link in the link tree to my Substack and read the article. And this gives you the answers. This pandemic or plandemic and Bill Gates meeting with Fauci at his $147 million home and said, I'm proposing for us to go and make a deal together and be in business together to vaccinate the world. And like MK-Ultra, the authoritarian figure, simply someone in a lab coat, and people didn't question anything. They absolutely insisted that we had those that, of course, and you're a fool for not getting the vaccination. And those that didn't want the vaccination were the outcast. And this was a planned deal, folks. A planned deal of control to the highest order. Straight out of the CIA playbook, as Robert Kennedy Jr. explains. This is straight out of the CIA playbook. That community orgasmic policing that affects, destroys, and tortures over 1 million Americans annually, it's all in one place on my Substack. Watch this clip, share, subscribe, like if you're not subscribed. I welcome your comments there below. My contact information is in the description of this video, and ways you can support USAGSA are also in there. Until next time, God bless you. Here's the clip.
How many of you have heard of Event 201? Event 201 is a simulation that they did right before COVID hit, and it was a drill for how to handle pandemics. But it didn't do the things you would think they would do, like how do we fix the VAERS system to make sure that we get good data? What they talked about was how to turn America into a totalitarian state. How to impose censorship. In my book on Fauci, I've been able to find 22 of those simulations. And they have been practicing this for year and year. It's all sponsored by the CIA, as I demonstrate. Fauci and Bill Gates play key roles in them. Bill Gates called Fauci in 2000 to his home in Seattle, $147 million home, 40 acres on Lake Washington. He sat Fauci down in his library and he said, I want to propose to you a partnership. You and I work together to vaccinate the world. The story in my book tells exactly how they went through that. And the story of these simulations is critically important because it was the way that they prepared. They didn't just have a few people involved. They had hundreds of thousands. Cops these were all top secret. Police officers in every community in this country, healthcare workers, first responders, were all drilled in this, how to censor, how to silence, how to impose tracking and tracing, how to do control. So they all went through these drills again and again, and it was a way of drilling and practicing a coup d'etat against American democracy. All of the techniques they use, I've spent a lot of time studying the CIA because my family was in a 60-year fight with them, and I wrote a book about that battle called American Values. But I've read all of their manuals, and they have techniques for going into indigenous countries and causing chaos, shattering the societies, destroying the economy, creating social distance between people so that there's no unit cohesion. And then when everybody is demoralized and destroyed, coming in with a centralized control and imposing, as they did with all of us, they locked down America in a hostage taking. And they impose something that is part of their technique, which is called Stockholm Syndrome, where the captive becomes grateful to their captor and identifies with them and understands, comes to this belief that the only way that they can save their lives is through absolute obsequious obedience to their captors. And all of these drills were intended to impose and to induce that condition in the entire public. And I'll tell you one other thing. The CIA did a series of mind control experiments back in the 60s and 70s called MK-Ultra and Project Artichoke. And one of the famous experiments was called the Milgram experiment. And the Milgram experiment, and you guys look it up, Milgram experiment. What they did is they brought volunteers from every walk of life, college professors, construction workers, everybody. They put them in a room with a doctor in a lab coat, a figure of authority. And he would tell them, turn up the electricity and shock the person who's in the next room. That person was an actor. And they would tell him, turn it up higher, turn it up higher. It went into the death zone. 67% of the people put it into the death zone, even though many of them weren't crying at the time. They were begging the doctor not to make them do it. And what they found was that using authority, particularly doctors in white lab coats, 67% of the public will violate their own conscience and do what they're told. All of this was orchestrated. They put doctors in charge of America, speaking of authority, never showing us any science, but ordering us what to do. And as you read my book, you're going to see all of the direct CIA involvement. And I named the person, I named the officers, year after year that were directly involved, partnered with Bill Gates, partnered with Tony Fauci, creating these scenarios.
Is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And